Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this video I'm gonna do a sort of tutorial, basically some general tips on how I like to draw and how I learned to draw and what things to avoid when you're starting out and want to learn how to improve your drawing skills. So I'm gonna start with 3 things. I'm gonna draw an animal, a person, and an object, and while doing so I'll give you like tips and tricks and again things to avoid while drawing. So the sketchbook that I'm using, I have no idea what the brand is. There's like no information on it whatsoever, but it's pretty nice. It's a big sketchbook. Let's see, I'm almost at the end. Hello, page. Okay. So let me just grab my materials. So first of all, I just want to give a little disclaimer. These are just tips from my experience, from what I've learned to do and what not to do while drawing. You can do whatever you want. If you disagree with some of the tips, you know, just do something else. It's totally fine. There's really not one way to do all of this. And it's important to just have fun with it and find your own style and technique, I guess. But yeah, if you're if you're wondering how I learned to draw and what I do, then you can watch this video, I guess. So let's see, I have in my pencil pouch a mechanical pencil, and I think I'm also going to use a ballpoint pen today, an eraser, a kneaded eraser, and maybe some colored pencil. I'm not sure yet, we'll see. Okay, so first of all, the kneaded eraser is such a lifesaver. I'm so glad I bought this. I used to always erase with a regular eraser, but my goodness, this thing is so much better because, let me just quickly show you. Maybe I need to zoom in a little bit actually. Or not, we'll see. If I draw this, I want to erase it with a regular eraser. First of all, you're gonna get all these, you can't really see it very well, but these tiny things, you know, they come off of the eraser. It's super annoying, you have to wipe it off, it gets everywhere. I hate it. Second of all, depending on the paper, you might damage the paper, making it more rough, and that can be really annoying if you want to draw over that again. So I prefer using a kneaded eraser. You can just buy it at any art store, I suppose. And you can just use it by rubbing it, or you can pick up some of the graphite, leaving only only a little bit of the markings on the page, which can be really useful if you want to draw over something but not erase the whole thing, because you can use that as like guidelines. But we'll get more into that later. The only thing that's not great about the kneaded eraser is it can't erase really well. So sometimes I still need to use one of these bad boys to get rid of all the graphite. There is a chicken outside. I'm really sorry if you can hear that. Okay, let's start with the first thing. I actually got a comment on one of my videos to like give a tutorial. Again, I'm not gonna be able to give like a step-by-step tutorial on how to draw this or that, but I'm just gonna give like general tips that will help you to draw basically anything you want. But okay, I think I'll start with the animal. So I've got a picture of a horse. I'll insert the picture in the editing, so here it is. It's a very beautiful white horse, and we're just gonna draw it. So if you're like new to drawing, this might feel really scary and intimidating, but I'll make sure that it's not gonna be too difficult. And an important thing to remember is that you can always simplify it before making it more complex. Okay, so we've got the whole horse. I want to first of all kind of map out where on the page I want it to be, because I do want it to fit. I don't want it to be all the way to the left and have a lot of empty, useless space on the right. But I also don't want to start too high up or too low down that it doesn't fit anymore. So yeah, I'm just gonna start somewhere over here. And the first sketch is like a super rough sketch. You can erase all of the lines you're gonna make in the beginning. And please do so if you want to, because once you're going into the more detailed areas, erasing it can be really painful because you spend so much time on it. So the beginning phase is really important. Be very rough with your sketch. Let me just show you. So I like to work from left to right because I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, maybe you'll want to start on the right so your hand doesn't go over the already made graphite and you won't smudge it. But yeah, I'm gonna start on the left. The part of the horse that sticks out the most is its left hind leg. So I kind of want to start with that, because if I don't, then there is a chance it might not fit on the page anymore. So again, a rough sketch. Boom, first line. This is like the butt cheek. And then second leg. The tail. I already noticed that it's probably not gonna fit with the head and everything. That's okay. Actually, it might fit, so I'll leave it here. But this is really important that you do this first stage, so you'll see if it actually fits on the page and if you need to make any drastic changes. You really don't want to have to do that while you're already, you know, shading everything in and making small details. Okay, this is my super rough sketch. What I'm now gonna do is make a decision if I want to move it down a little bit or just leave it. I think we're just gonna leave it. It fits quite all right. And now I'm gonna make a few more definitive lines. And later on I will erase this sketch basically, because yeah, this is not very pretty. Making the rough sketch, I don't really have a tutorial for that. You'll just have to practice it a lot, I suppose. With stuff like limbs, like legs on this horse, for example, I usually make just lines, and then where it becomes more thicker, here I just do some kind of oval shape. Here, for the head of the horse, I usually draw a circle and then another tiny circle for the nose. I already see that this is probably too long, maybe. So I'm just gonna make, yeah, like I said, a more definitive sketch. So again, I'm gonna start at the end. I need to be quiet for this for some reason. And these lines, again, are just gonna be like guidelines. If I need to erase it, I will. In the beginning, you're gonna erase quite a lot probably, and that's totally fine. Don't be scared. Don't be like, oh no, I spent time on this line is perfect. No, just, if it's not good, just erase it and get rid of it. Yeah, I feel like I'm making the same point over and over again, but it's just really important. So now I've drawn this leg, and I'm gonna go over with my neat eraser, but I'm not gonna erase everything. I'm just gonna go over it. So I'm just gonna do this. As you can see, it doesn't disappear all the way. But now I can go over it again, making it more dark and more defined, and basically continuing with the sketch. Another really great tip is to look at the negative spaces. So I want to make sure that the other leg is positioned properly in relation to this leg. So what I can do is look at the space in between, so this space, so I can look at the reference picture and I see, okay, it's approximately this figure and it's about this big. So that's a really nice tool, I think, to make sure that your proportions are right. If your proportions are off and you don't notice it until like the end, it'll just look really bad no matter how good you are at shading or coloring in. If, for example, one leg looks way bigger than the other, or an eye is too far to the right, it'll just look bad. So in the beginning, it's really important that you first of all map out where you want it to be, and then make sure that your proportions are right. Otherwise, again, it'll just look weird. So now that I'm drawing this leg, I'm gonna use this leg as a bit of a reference. It's not completely finished yet, actually. Let me just do that. So for example, the heel of this leg is like parallel to the other leg if I look at the reference picture. So that's a really nice way to make sure that it's all positioned properly. So I now notice that this leg is a little bit too long. So I'm just going to erase that a little bit. So now this part, which is like the ball of the foot, I think, I'm not entirely sure, that needs to also be in line with the one from this leg. So I can see on this picture this is about this long. Now I look at the leg again and I think, it looks a little bit wonky, so I go in again, erase some of it and just try again. I personally quite like leaving some of the pencil markings there that are like wrong. It just adds a bit of a rough sketch look to it, which I really like. We can't really see the whole hoof. It's like in the ground, so I'll just do a little bit of this. Now I know, okay, this part needs to end up on this part as well. So it needs to be just a little bit higher. Now I'm looking at the hooves and I see that on the reference picture, they're on the same level. They should be, the same. They're not, as you can see. I need to change either one of the legs or both of them. I think I'll just change both of them, to be honest. You can also draw a little line here under the hoof and see where you need to end up. Alright, it looks much better. Just gonna erase this line a little bit. I want to move on to the rest of the horse, otherwise I'm going to spend way too much time on each leg, which is kind of boring. Okay, so now the top of the butt. It's really important to keep looking at your reference picture and see if there's anything you're doing wrong. Just keep looking at it constantly, and I just like draw and look simultaneously. Actually, I'm gonna erase my guidelines that I made earlier because they don't really make a lot of sense anymore. If your guidelines are not helping you, just get rid of them. Otherwise, they'll just confuse you more. So now I'm just cleaning up some of the lines that I made that I'm not really going to use anymore. Like a few guidelines are just a little bit messy. yeah, it helps me to see better where I want things to be. And it just looks a little bit cleaner. But again, maybe you'll like that look. I kind of do, so that's why I use my kneaded eraser to like sort of erase it, but not all the way. If you find yourself drawing and it just looks really, really bad, you can always start over and make a new drawing, or just try to keep going. It's important that when you're drawing, you're always practicing. No matter if you fail, you're still practicing, you're still learning from that. So if you make a mistake, don't worry about it too much. It's part of the process. I've been drawing for all of my life and I'm 21 now. Like, this doesn't come naturally. People always say like, oh, you're so talented, or you're born talented. Like, no, you're not. You need to practice hours and hours to get to this level. And if you don't enjoy doing it, then it's gonna be a tough time for you. I've heard people say to me that, oh, I wish I could draw like you, or you're so good. Could you please teach me? But the thing is, I got this good because I enjoy doing it, not because I wanted to get good. You know what I mean? So if you don't actually enjoy doing art, then what's the point of trying to be good at it? It needs to be fun, otherwise it's just gonna be really sucky to do. Also, if you really like horses and you want to learn how to draw them properly, just draw them a lot. I used to be like a horse girl, and I drew horses a lot when I was younger, and I still love drawing them. So like, the more you draw them, and this goes for every animal or object or person, the more you draw, the more you understand how it is supposed to look, which will make the drawing process a lot easier. Okay, I think we're pretty far. I'm not gonna finish it all the way. I'm just gonna quickly add some shading here and there, and then we'll move on to the next drawing. So for shading, I just like to not focus too much on the details and just look at everything in like shapes and just big areas that I want to quickly color in. So I'll start at, for example, here the butt. Wait, let me just quickly add a bit of tail. So under the tail it's really dark, so I'm just gonna color that in a little bit. And I like to start not with the darkest the darkest my pencil can get. So I know this whole area, actually I can see sort of a little line here, this whole area is darkened, so I'm just gonna start with drawing that. So I just hold my pencil sideways a little bit, and now I'm gonna go in and make everything darker where it's supposed to be darker. So let's see, that's about here. And I'll do that basically everywhere, so I'm just gonna go in and do that real quick, and then we can move on to our next drawing. And that is our first drawing, our horse. I think it looks pretty good. So let's move on to the other drawing, which is gonna be the face. So I think I'm gonna try a different medium because I'm tired of using this pencil. Let's do colored pencils. So I have the Faber-Castell Polychromos. I really like using them, but they are a bit more pricey. You definitely don't need expensive drawing materials in order to draw good, in order to draw well, but it does help sometimes with like certain textures or just to make it a bit easier for yourself. That's why I like using these. It's a bit of an investment, but I do draw a lot, so for me it's not an issue. Okay, so the reference picture is this black and white golden age portrait of a woman. I'm afraid I don't know who this is. It's just a picture from Pinterest, so I'm just gonna pick a color and we're gonna make it monochromatic, so we're gonna just use one color. Actually, I have more colors. Now I'm gonna approach this a little bit differently because this pencil is harder to erase, which is actually a really fun challenge. After this we'll work with pen, which you can't erase at all, but for now we can still use our kneaded eraser. Okay, so again I'm gonna map out where I want things to be. I'm gonna start at the top, like the highest part of the drawing or of the image, because I don't want that to be overlapping on this drawing. So I'm just gonna draw a little bit of a line here. I'm not sure if you can even see that, but it's right here. So somewhere over here should the top of the head be. I can see like a bit of the hair. I'm not gonna map out the bottom because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to at least fit the head and a little bit of the shoulder, hopefully. So this is gonna be the top of the head. And again, I'm just gonna make a very, very rough sketch and only press with the pencil very lightly on the paper so I can still erase it easily. If I press down too hard, I can't erase it. Yeah, because it's colored pencil. So, okay, I had to see the concentrate a little bit. I'm just gonna draw like the general shape of the hair. So this is gonna be... Again, I'm not sure if you can see it at all, but it's a very, very light sketch, which is great because now I can erase it without too much trouble. So I've just made a little bit of an outline where I want things to be. These are, again, not definitive lines. I can still erase them and place them somewhere else. But yeah, they help me a lot in, you know, what's coming next. So I'm only gonna draw a little bit of the shoulder here. So now I'm gonna go in the face and add like where I want the eyes to be and the nose and the mouth, etc. And actually this ear needs to be a little bit longer. So I will use this ear as a guideline for where the eye should be, kind of. Usually where the ear starts, which is about here, that's also where the eye starts. I just like to draw a little bit of a circle really quickly, just eyeballing it. I'll do the same for the nose, just a little oval situation. So now I've created again some guidelines for myself. This is where I kind of want the eye to be. Otherwise it's just really difficult to start on a completely white page. So I'm just gonna very lightly erase this again. I'm not sure if you can even see anything at all anymore on the camera, but I still can. I always like to start with the eyes. They're just, I don't know, I think it's the best feature of the face. And I'm gonna start the one that's on the right side. Actually, let me just draw the head first. So how to draw a face There are so many tutorials on YouTube. I'm not gonna give you like a step-by-step tutorial how to draw a face because, yeah, again, there are so many tutorials that already exist. And I don't even really use a lot of techniques anymore. Some people say, oh, you can start by drawing a circle and then like a cross, and the cross I still sometimes do. But I will just like in general map out where I want things to be instead of worrying too much about, you know, exact proportions. Yeah, sorry if you came here for a step-by-step tutorial, I'm not gonna give you one. And again, it also helps if you draw faces a lot, because then you understand them and it'll be easier to draw. So I've drawn the line here. I basically erased most of it, but I can still see it a little bit. And now I know that I need to start drawing the eye somewhere on that line. It doesn't have to be precise, but just like somewhere on that line needs to start. And I'm still drawing very lightly because if I need to erase something, I still can, or like sort of at least. And once I'm happy with some of the lines, I'll make them darker. So I'm pretty happy with the top eyelid, so I'll just make that a little bit darker. There's a little white dot in the eye, which I really want to keep because it really brings out the eye in my opinion. So I'm going to draw a teeny tiny circle, which I want to leave white, like the inside of that circle. Now this is definitely too big, but I can always make it smaller and I can't really make it bigger, so I prefer starting off slightly too big and then make it smaller. So the nose, what's that called? Your nostril starts usually somewhere. If you just draw a line down with the eye, hold on. That's usually where that will start. And it will also be in line with the bottom of the ear. So now you've kind of made yourself, yeah, more guidelines, which will be so helpful. I'm gonna erase the guidelines because I don't need them anymore. So again, I'm just like constantly looking at, well, in this case, the nose and where everything should be in terms of shadow and lines. And there's always a lighter area right beneath the nostril because there's light reflecting from the upper lip up to the nose. So it's important not to make this whole area completely black or completely dark. Just leave a little highlight. Okay, so I just took a little break and I'm back. It's a little hard to explain what I'm doing because I usually don't think about what I'm doing, I just do it. So I'm really sorry if this video is just a little bit boring and doesn't explain that much. The message that I just want to give you is just practice, have fun with it, don't worry about it too much, and do it at your own pace. And don't listen too much to like rules in art. To be honest, I don't think rules really exist. I would just call them guidelines, and you should do with them whatever you want. If you don't find them useful, just do it your own way. That way you will also get your own style, which I think is always really nice when people have their own drawing style, or painting style, sculpting style, whatever kind of art they do. Yeah, just have fun with it. I'm not sure if I even recorded anything, so I'll start over. If not, then I'll skip this. But I basically just finished drawing this. I'm pretty happy with it, and you can see the contrast between the two. This one is a bit more soft because I used a different type of pencil. This one's a bit more harsh, and I like that there's a difference between the two. So now we're gonna draw the third thing, which is an object. I decided to draw a camera, which I'm gonna do with a pen, which I really like using for drawing. It basically forces me to look more carefully at the reference picture or whatever I want to draw before I actually draw the object. Yeah, so for this drawing I already started a bit because yeah, my camera stopped recording, so I had to do this again. But basically, what I was saying was I first look at the image and figure out the most basic shapes that you can see in the image. So in this image of the camera that I want to draw, you can see the rectangle of the body of the camera and then a circle which represents the lens. And I was also saying something about a fine liner. You can see a few scribbles here, but basically a tip that I really find very useful is if you want to quickly learn how to draw and just improve your drawing skills in general, use a fine liner to draw what you want to practice drawing. Because with a fine liner you can draw very quickly, and then you can make lots of tiny, quick drawings. And the more drawings you make, the better you get. Like, that's just the best way to practice it, just to do it a lot. And I think doing it with a fine liner, again, forces you to just work very quickly because you cannot erase. And if you leave the pen on the paper too long, it will like bleed out and just become really ugly. So that's why I really like using pens and fine liners in general. If I just want to make a quick sketch, So yeah, there's a little tip for you. But now let's finally draw this camera. So I already started making a line here. Also with the pen you can go really quite dark. I already drew it over here. If you just press down pretty hard, you can get pretty dark. But you can also make it lighter and like softer by not pressing as hard. Like that, which will be important later. So let's just draw this camera. So I'm just first gonna draw out the rectangle, which is a little bit slanted. Okay, that's the rectangle. Now let's draw the circle. It should be somewhere in the middle. So on this camera you can find lots of little circles and rectangles and other shapes. So just try to simplify it, even though in the camera you can see so many little details and yeah, like tiny little things to draw. But first draw out the big shapes and just try to simplify it before you go in with all the details, all the shading, all the highlights and textures and stuff like that. I'm not gonna spend too much time drawing this. I'm just gonna do it pretty quickly and yeah, make sure that you at least recognize that's a camera. I just want to show you that you can make really quick sketches and still practice that way. If you're really struggling with how to get textures right and shadows and whatnot, then I suggest spend a bit more time drawing this. But a lot of the time people struggle with just getting the shape right of things and the proportions. So again, I would advise use a pen and make quick sketches and just do a lot of them. And that, to me at least, is just like one of the most effective ways to practice drawing. I do that a lot with body poses. Especially people in like very strange and difficult poses. I just draw them super quickly, again with a fine liner. And yeah, it helps me a lot, to be honest. And I can do a lot of figures in a short amount of time, so I don't get tired. I can still do a lot. I can still practice it quite a lot. Also, I don't really have like a general order in which I draw things. I just start somewhere and then I'm like, oh, let's draw this area and then let's draw this area. So I just go from one place to another without much logic. So sorry if you see me going back and forth between different areas without finishing one first. Sometimes I just get bored and then I just want to move on and draw the next area after drawing. Now I see that this part is too high. I should have seen that earlier and changed that. I can't change it anymore, I've drawn too much already. But sometimes it's also just working with what you've got. So even though this is too high, it's not a giant problem. Since this is a camera and not a person, if the proportions are slightly off, it's not that big of a deal. You won't really notice it as quickly. I think this is also why drawing faces is so difficult. We as humans are so used to looking at faces, and then when something is off, you'll immediately see it. Whereas drawing things like flowers or objects like this, you can make a bit more errors, which is nice. But on the other hand, drawing things you're not really used to seeing. I mean, we always look at faces, so we are also very used to seeing them and can draw a pretty decent face without having to look at a reference picture. But drawing other objects that we don't really look at very often, which I guess depends on the person, but for example, I don't look at a potato peeler very often. So if I had to draw this right now, I would probably suck at it. So it's funny that we can draw faces pretty well because we see it so often, and yet it's also really difficult to get it right because we see it so often. I think that's pretty interesting. I'm now doing a hatching technique, so I'm going over it in different directions. So I first go vertical, for example. And then to make it darker, I go in the opposite direction. And this will basically give you a very nice texture, which is visible on this camera body. So that's why I'm doing this. And the more directions you do, the less prominent the lines actually will be. So if you're not really a big fan of the look of all the stripes from the pen, you can do this technique. And there you have it, all 3 drawings. Yeah, hopefully this video was somewhat helpful to you. I know I didn't really give a step-by-step tutorial, but that wasn't really my intention of this video. I just wanted to give you like some general tips here and there, because yeah, you can go ahead and look up step-by-step tutorials of every object or animal or person you want to draw. But it's just easier to just start yourself and just practice and find your own way of doing it. It's a lot more fun that way, in my opinion, too. So I hope you learned something from this video. If not, then I'm really sorry. I hope you at least enjoyed watching me draw stuff. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe if you want to, or leave a comment. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!